machine.
So how's your week been?
Yes, it's been all right. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about, though, was I've been sleep training Hunter since he was 3 months old. He was a very, very fussy baby. He wasn't colicky, he was just fussy. Everything made him cry, and he would just have meltdowns at the slightest thing. I didn't like taking... I felt like I was on a ticking time bomb. If I went to meet a friend for coffee and he was asleep, as soon as he woke up, there'd be hell to play, you know. So that was always made me very nervous. Then at 12 weeks, I said to Andy, let's sleep train him. And we went on holiday to Cornwall. We were in a detached house in the middle of nowhere. So we decided we would do the crying it out thing. And we did. We just let him cry. I think it's called extinction. When you close the door, you leave them until they drop off. You don't go in and, you know, check and console 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because we felt that that was just prolonging the agony for Hunter. And at the end of that week, he was a different child. Now, I know a lot of people don't agree with extinction and crying it out. Personally, I don't judge any mother. I expect not to be judged myself, because only a mother knows her child truly. And it worked for us. And he's still, as you saw this morning when you were making him laugh, he's a happy, contented little chap. However, he's 6 months old now. And he's been, obviously wakes up for feeds a little bit, like a couple of times in the night. And then all of a sudden last week, he suddenly got social and he wanted to be with us all the time. And if we've got guests, he won't go down for naps. And I could see that it was just a little bit of separation anxiety and wanting to socialise. Friday night, he was up all night screaming. And we would just lay in bed listening to it. None of us got any sleep. But I was determined that I was going to try the crying it out again. Now, my question to you is, do you... When they cry in the night, obviously we have neighbours too, which makes me nervous. Do I go in, check and console just the once? Do I keep going in if he continues to cry? What I've ended up doing is deciding that I should go in when he starts crying to check he's okay and not wet or not sick, and then go, it's now sleepy time, and leave him to cry it out.
I've had lots of situations where I've kind of thought, right, I'm going to leave her to cry, you know, she's just been silly, and then I've gone in and found that she's got an arm or a leg through the cot, or she's got a wet nappy, or she's pooed or something like that, and then you feel absolutely terrible. I could go in straight away at the start and go and make sure everything's okay. And if they're still then crying, you kind of think, well, hang on a minute, I think it's a continue.
I've done everything,
Yeah, and then just leave it for as long as possible. But then if it continues for ages, just go in and just do a little shush.
On Friday night, the thing that upset Andy and I is, mainly me really, is I couldn't, he was inconsolable, but there were no real tears. When you'd go in, he would and I put my hand on his forehead, he instantly stopped crying. And then as soon as I took my hand away and went to leave the room, he started crying again, which made me think that he just wanted me there. And he's got to learn that I can't be with him. He's got to self-settle. He's got to soothe himself to sleep. But what makes me nervous as a new mum, and him being my first, is what happens if he is cutting a tooth and I don't know, or he is getting ill and I don't know, and the things that I can't actually read in him. So I mean, I ended up on Friday giving him a dose of Calpol in the night just to rule out pain. And then I left him to it. But I don't know whether anybody else has any sort of insights into sort of, you know, I will now do initial check and console. Check he's all right, because last night he had a wet nappy when I went in at 1, and it soaked right through to the cot sheet. So I was really glad I went in, because at one point I was lying there going, right, he's woken up in the night, I'm going to leave him. And I'm glad I went in and checked on him, because he went straight back to sleep after I changed him. Till 8 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
People. He basically slept through, but for the wet nappy last night, and that only took me 10 minutes to deal with. But I do know that crying it out and extinction divides mothers. Well, it's mainly mothers. I think dads just lie there going, too tired to deal. Yeah, exactly. What was Adam like when you had to sort of sleep train April?
He was actually really good. He was the one that was better at leaving her to cry it out. I was terrible. I'd have to go for a walk around the block. Or there was.
Did you let her cry it out though? Did you need to? Because girls are often better than boys.
We did at the start. We did. I mean, she learned really quickly. It was just a matter of a few nights, and and we tried to time it when I wasn't in there. So I'd be at a work thing,
and Adam would deal with it.
And he would do it, and he was brilliant actually, because I would just be wanting to go in there. I don't know whether it's just me, but I think that mums just find it harder. It kind of really pulls on my heartstrings. I was like, oh God, I can't do this.
To the point where I worried about my mothering. Like I was like, do I love my child? Because I, like Adam, found it much easier than Andy. You know, I'm a bit like my dad. My dad is a surgeon. He's an incredibly pragmatic man. You know, it's difficult to get my dad to emote much. And I am emotional, incredibly emotional, but I also see the bigger picture, which was in the long run. It's like when Hunter had his injections. I never cried, I never got upset, because I'd much rather he had injections and momentary discomfort than diphtheria. But I know a lot of my NCT friends are like, oh, I can't bear it, it makes me cry. And it's like, and I'm like, well, yeah, but what's the alternative is far worse. And I hate to see Hunter in pain or upset, but I also see the bigger picture. So
I reckon it's the type of person you are as well, your personality and the way you've been brought up. Maybe it's not a mother-father kind of thing.
I felt like maybe I was a bad mum. I was like, you know, surely I should be getting upset. But
no.
I didn't like, don't get me wrong, nobody enjoys hearing their child cry. But I was just pragmatic. And, you know, there've been times in the back of the car when we've been stuck in traffic and he's hungry and missing a feed. And I can't stop because I'm in gridlock on the M5. And, you know, rather than absolutely lose my mind, I have put my iPod on with the earbuds in. Because I can see him in the rear view and I know he's still upset, but there's nothing I can do.
No.
And I think one of the books I read, which I loved, called Your Baby Week by Week, which is the book I got when he was born. It's incredible. In it talks about fussy children, more newborns really. But the point that the author makes is, if it all gets too much for you, put the baby in the cot, go out of the room, take a few deep breaths, make a cup of tea. No child ever died from crying.
No, exactly.
And I think that's very true. But, you know, there are plenty of horror stories you hear about, you know, mothers that lost control. And so the thing to do is close the door, walk away, take deep breaths.
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
think that's very important. And that rings in my head whenever I get really upset. Put him down. No child ever died from crying.
Yeah, as long as you just don't go off to town. Just go,
exactly.
See you later, Hunter.
Don't leave them there for good. I literally only ever went into the garden.
Mummy,